It's another edition of the Blathering Live. Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Napzok. Welcome to the program. Episode 215. I love counting numbers. They don't mean anything. Some people checking in already. I hope you're thrilled to be here today with me on another show. A little bit earlier today, so I don't know. Maybe some of you still work. NFL kickoff soon. My Miami Dolphins are playing. It's possibly the last game of Mike McDaniel's Dolphin coaching career. I hope not. But I wanted to get a little bit of time to watch the game tonight while I stare into the abyss. Mike Fink's checking in. Hey, buddy Mike, Serenity Jane, Coops here, Dylan Berry, Network returning, Laser Bolts, Kingsport Cal. Thanks for the question, Kingsport Cal, that fueled the Blathering mailbag. Hey, do me a favor if you're watching now live, listening later on the podcast feed, watching later on YouTube. Head on over to the YouTube channel and go to the Blathering mailbag playlist. Watch those, like them, hype them, comment, say hi, share them. I am making an unapologetic push to grow those a little bit. They've been serious, poignant, but that's kind of me. I'm a silly Billy, but I like getting serious. But we'll get some silly ones up. Maybe not right away. We will do some NFL picks. Producer Steve, he's out. I don't think the big event hasn't happened yet at the old Producer Steve household. I think they're waiting. I think it's close. It's almost game time for him as well. So no Steve tonight. Hope you all enjoyed the Blathering backstage last night because it's your last one for a while. I'm kidding. We're switching that over to Blathering Gaming soon, getting that ready. Having fun with that. So the thumbnail had Cash Patel, who legitimately sometimes styles his name with a $sign, Cash. Now, look, Kesha does something similar as well. I got no problem with branding. We'll talk about him in a second. I actually do want to talk about Spinal Tap 2 tonight. A lot of stuff going on in the world. Yeah, but I also want to address that movie and what I thought about it. How I liked it, and also how I really just enjoyed older people getting to create, which was something that I thought and was kind of told at times wouldn't be allowed to happen. So after I made the thumbnail, we had the news that happened, broke late yesterday of the suspension, quote unquote, of Jimmy Kimmel and his late night talk show on ABC. I'm sure you all know by now. And I obviously want to talk about it. We're going to dive in even more on Anytime tomorrow with Ken and Alden, so check it out there. And this time around, I have to own up top. When the Colbert news happened, I was a little more muted on it than other people. CBS couched it with enough Teflon around it you could just say what it was. I also do think and still think late night is dying. Sitcoms are dying. Traditional media dying. Traditional news dying. Not all bad, not all good, but also definitely affects the industry I'm in. And we're all terrified of that. I just had a conversation this past weekend with a friend of mine at the comedy club, a very accomplished comic, but he's a very accomplished actor, and he's like, it's all gone. So that was kind of that. But this situation with Kimmel is not different. I never had the thought that what was going on with Colbert didn't have to do with potential mergers and bending the knee. The Kimmel thing is different in the sense that it's all so transparent. It's not even transparent. It's just like the thing that happened. And I don't want to sit here and rage on it today. I don't want to sit here and scream. I no longer, that's going to happen sometimes. I'm going to talk about Cash Patel in a second. I might scream. I don't want to be screamy podcasty guy. I sometimes just want to talk honestly about what's going on here in the live show. And then we'll get to some silly stuff. I want your live calls. YouTube channel members, Patreon supporters, get in here, call in. It's a radio show. And even I want to hear your thoughts on this. Often I talk about my things, and then we take calls that go where you want to go. And I love that. I'm going to still do that. But sometimes maybe we could take calls on, like a radio show, what I'm talking about. There's a lot of ways to go with the Kimmel conversation. I'll start here. I think it's still very fluid. I do not think it's done. I think he could be reinstated by the end of tomorrow, end of the weekend, by Monday. I think he could also say, F you, I'm walking. Who knows? There's some reporting coming out of people inside the Mouse House and above. By the way, this is even levels above. It goes to Uncle Bob and his cardigan sweater of fascism, I guess, right now, or kowtowing to fascism. I'll get into what this might mean for me as a Star Wars fan. Kathleen Kennedy did not make this decision. I think if you want to cancel Disney Plus, I think that's a good thing to do, smart thing to do. But I have not. My job includes covering Star Wars, and we're days. In fact, according to rumors, the Mando trailer was going to maybe drop today, but got pushed. I am this is where capitalism really always just comes along and tweaks us. Like, I've been joking around the show, but I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 months, literally, measuring how much stuff I can pack into my car, right? And I'm not alone. I was just talking to someone today who knows someone in the industry that lost their job, and they're like, I got 30 years of experience in this, and I went online to look for jobs in this, and even if I was to get the jobs, they don't pay enough, so I don't know, then do I get a second or third job? And then I know someone else who has an impressive career, even more impressive than mine, editor of venerable comedy magazines. Remember magazines? And they had lost their job over the last year or so, and they are getting turned down for grocery store jobs, right? Because they don't have enough experience. So that's kind of where I'm in that too, where Force Center is part of my job. Talk about Star Wars is part of my job. We did what we felt, and I still felt was the right thing with switching to Other Center during the WGA strike. Happy to do that, and happy to maybe cross that bridge. Have not talked about this with Joseph and Jennifer. This is not their show. It's not fair for me to get too much into the weeds on our business. But we took a hit when we went to Other Center, right? We took a giant hit. So I'm in this headspace right now today where I'm just like, I just want to talk about the Mando trailer when it comes out because I enjoy it, but also that's what I do. And does this hasten my moving into my car? I'm just trying to be honest about where I am. Where I am right now. But as I said, a lot of places to go with the Kimmel conversation. More than anything, this is a absolute, direct, clear, and almost stated example of government censorship, which the head of the FCC has said, I don't know. I think a lot of these networks and stations and broadcasters that, have an FCC license might want to consider saying something to ABC that you got this guy on here lying, kind of spreading false information around about the news and stoking flames here because you do have a big merger coming, which again was behind the Colbert stuff, like I said, even though I acknowledged that I was a little bit softer on that than this one now, because this one's out in the open. The other one, I guess I'm giving it too much credit for being a little bit more on the surface, also a reality of where I think television is going. But let's move past that. This is clear, and we're seeing it. And we're all DiCaprio memeing, I should say, at the screen. And it's the follow the money. It's all those kind of things. And it's crazy how wide a berth of people pointing to the screen and going, well, that's not good. Like, we always talk about the big tent, and is the big tent effective in fighting for change in this world? I don't know. That's a different conversation, but it's a big tent today. Like, I'm surprised some of the people I'm seeing, and some of their pathways to the this is wrong decision are make me roll my eyes or rolling my eyes or just mind boggling. There was a guy from Barstool Sports who clearly I don't think understands a lot of what's happened in the past. I don't want to get to that in a second, but has come down to how could this be? This is follow the money. Like, so it's a weird big tent right now. It's a weird big tent. When Tucker Carlson is on your side again, it's like you're looking around. I go back to him telling Ted Cruz, the Bible does not say support the Israeli government of today in Genesis 8. And it's like, all right, it's not a forgiveness blanket that I'm putting over Tucker, but I'll take it, right? I'm big on permission structures. And I think there's people out there who are going through changes or seeing things in the world and going, this is starting to not to jive, but the system I was raised in or the beliefs I had, they kind of put you in this box. And until you have someone around you going, oh, I'm changing too, I'm changing my opinion, then you can all move forward together. That's part of what's going on here. But I do, as a stand-up comedian, I feel I need to want to address the idea of government censorship versus cultural pushback. And you have seen a push from Mark Maron and other comics saying, where are the free speech is under attack comics now? Where are the Austin boys and girls defending Kimmel now? And I haven't seen a ton of that. I have seen some of them being really snarky, saying, oh, yeah, this is Kimmel getting canceled is horrible. It's kind of like when Roseanne and Tucker got canceled, right? Ha, ha, ha. That is such a false equivalency that I don't want to come off as explaining something that seems so apparent in kind of a smug tone, but I cannot believe, but I can believe that those kind of comics are not standing up for this, or that they equate it all the same. Roseanne got pulled from ABC. Uncle Bob pulled her. Same thing. It's not the same thing. Cultural pushback is not the end of free speech. When a comic like Tony Hinchcliffe, which I spoke about here on this very channel before, stands up at a Trump rally and says things that we find to be just things you shouldn't say, things that incite violence, aligns you with a candidate and therefore eventually an administration that will bring a lot of pain and suffering to the communities you're joking about. We're not saying you don't have a right to say that. We're saying maybe you should consider your words and consider the ideas that jokes are not just simply jokes. That is not the removal of free speech. That is saying, yep, you can say it. You can go to that rally. You can participate, and you can even vote for that candidate. But we're just asking you why? We're just asking you to consider maybe choosing your words differently and considering the ramifications of your words, right? And that gets thrown all around, right? Stop calling us Adolf. Stop calling us fascists. And then we come back with, well, you are. Nick Fuentes is a card-carrying member of that kind of belief and system that you say you're not, but he is. And we go back and forth over that. But that is cultural pushback. And we can debate that. We can go in the nuance of that. I still say as a comic, I can get up on stage and say what I want, and that comic can get up on stage and say what they want. We'll let the audience decide. We'll let the club decide. But at no point now does the government come down to the comedy club in Burbank and say, you can't say that. Here's the police. We're going to put handcuffs on you. And a lot of these free speech is dead man comics clearly just want the right to say some words, just want the right to say whatever, no matter who gets hurt, no matter how it's taken. They just want that right. And they often invoke the names of Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, and at times Bill Hicks. And I've said before, and I'll say again, and this is in a general way. George Carlin, specifically his bit of the 7 dirty words, and Lenny Bruce, who has got a full-on complicated story of who he was. But Lenny Bruce going on stage to defy the people in the audience waiting to literally arrest him. George Carlin getting famous in the second leg of his career with the 7 dirty words. It was not about just the right to say the words. They were fighting against a hard right-leaning, conservative, Christian, moral minority that had control of the levels of power, of the levers of power, and were actually arresting them. This is the Hays Code, the Comics Code. This was a small group, mostly I would say men in power, who determined these things are indecent. Now, should we have some ratings? Should we have limitations on what young kids can hear? Hate speech? Yes. Yes. But Carlin's bit, other than being a great legendary bit, was about that small moral minority with power determining what can or cannot be said behind the color of authority. That is government censorship. That is the true end of free speech. And that is what today is about. But that's obviously and clearly going to be overlooked, misconstrued. The false equivalencies are going to be large. And I don't know, maybe some of those comics will change their tune, but I've already seen some of them today take that route. Even some of the people that have come to the conclusion that this Kimmel stuff is bad, that this Kimmel stuff is truly a violation of the First Amendment, even they have started with cancel culture was bad, man. It's not the same. Cultural pushback is very, very different. On another day, on another time, do I want to maybe have a conversation about how far sometimes that goes? I personally am not easily offended, but maybe, I'm too loose on it. Other people too aggressive. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. There's those kind of conversations to have. But that's what's troubling me today. It's not just the thing that happened. It's not just why, but it is trying to talk to people who are seeing an orange when you're both standing in front of an apple. And I do not know how to go forward in light of all that. I might address it a little bit more in the Blathering mailbag this week. But I've had several conversations this week with people around me about how do we change minds? How do we best move forward? How do I do it without screaming? How do I do it without mocking? Those things are fun. I'll do them again. I'll do it again. I'll probably do it today. I'll probably fail on that again today. I don't know, but I want to find a way forward, and I don't know how. When you sit down with someone and they say, Charlie Kirk was a beloved father and husband who only spoke the true word of Christ, and then you show them some video and goes, is this what he's saying? That white college women are going to be the death of us? That black women and black people don't have the intellectual or emotional capabilities that we do, so they have to steal our jobs? Transphobia, the Islamophobia, the homophobia, all the phobia. Is this what you mean by that? Or what might even be more scary, have you never seen this? Have you never seen this? I have been continuously, I'll say shocked this past week of the amount of people who had no idea who Charlie Kirk was. No idea who Benny Johnson is, or Nick Fuentes, or Nerdrotic, or Geeks and Gamers, any of those people, any of the Gamer Gators, any of those people that have stirred up so much hate over the last couple of years and built giant fan bases around it. They legitimately don't know. And you might pass through and see something about Charlie Kirk. Hell, you might even see a clip about him where he sounds as described. A good family man who loves God, who's just trying to spread the, debate, discourse, and free speech. You might see a clip that backs that up. I've seen those clips. I don't know how to proceed with that. I don't know how to proceed when we say, alarm, alarm, alarm. A government official threatened to put the kibosh on a $6 billion merger and acquisition unless you remove this problematic TV host. When we go alarm and other people go, well, you tried to cancel Chappelle. I don't know how to go forward with that. I don't know how to go forward with that. And I want to be clear too, when I say people didn't know some of these names, that's not I'm not being snarky. I'm not wagging a finger. I'm not saying, how could you? How dare you? I'm just saying that's a reality. People in my life, good people. That's kind of the world we live in. The fact that, as more information comes out about Tyler Robinson, the suspect in custody, and more is coming out, it's so unclear of a picture. It's so unclear of a picture. I highly recommend you watch my friends Elliot and Ricky at Internet Today. They've done great breakdowns of it. Really love what they said about it because it's ongoing. But I have people in my life who've just taken the headlines or just taken the assumptions that are sold as headlines, which is easy to do. I have done that in the past. I have done that in the past week. It's easy to do when you're scrolling at night. Oh, the suspect did this. He had that. But it's just more complicated than we can have quick conversations about. I don't think any killer, any assassin, anyone who commits a crime at this high of a profile has a clear head that we can point to them and say, there they are. Good old leftist rebel making the first shot of a civil war. I don't think we can say that here, and I don't think we can say it in the past. I don't think we can say it about a lot of the alt-right violence, which is still 6-1 over left-wing violence, according to the stats there. This is at the end of the day, probably someone so awash in meme culture, so awash in the dark corners of the internet that this, I agree with many people calling this assassination probably just a big giant shit post. I don't know where to go with that. I was having a conversation with someone just this week who has a young son who has a 21-year-old son who's a big fan of people like Elon, Charlie, Trump. 21-year-old kid. And my friend described him as lost. I'm trying to reach him. I'm trying to talk sense, but lost. She had to explain to him what fascism was. Because he was saying, see, the guy wrote, catch these bullets, fascists, which, obviously, as we all know, is a video game reference that they could have used to make a point of it, but it's a shit post. And this person was blaming this leftist, trans-loving kid that grew up good but went to a college and got radicalized, as many have said before, not a joke I'm making by myself, but, all the kids that go to colleges in Utah to just get radicalized to the left for one semester before dropping out and going to trade school. But this 21-year-old kid was just saying all this stuff, and at the end of the day, didn't know even what fascism meant. Was just repeating what they had heard on the internet. I don't know where to go with all that. James Holmes in the UK asks, has gun control been mentioned at all? No. They'll do when this all, settles down. Like I said, even there's a couple references to video games. That song is a old anti-fascist song from World War II era stuff. I know that, but like the song that was engraved on there, the song lyrics are from a video game. They catch this fascist is from a video game. You know what's going to happen. There's going to be this moral panic once again about the violence of video games. And look, I'm not saying the violence of video games throughout the years doesn't have some sort of psychological effect or doesn't kind of numb the senses. I can't say that I think it doesn't, even though I play them too. But James, they'll use that as a way to circumnavigate gun control. It wasn't the guns, it was the video games. It wasn't the guns, it was the music. It wasn't the guns, it was the college. It wasn't the guns, it was the professors. It wasn't the guns, it was the relationship with the transgender human, the worst kind in the world. They'll circumvent guns for all those reasons. But yet, video games are played in other countries I'd say far, far, far less incidents of gun violence. Not nations without violence, but definitely nations without mass murder with these weapons at this scale. But you can't toss that out for any kind of reasonable conversation point. So we're all upset, frightened, concerned. And like I said, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know where to go from here. Including, like I said, do I cancel Disney Plus? Do I go down? I was out of my area today. There was a protest put on by WGA members, I believe, and others in the entertainment industry. They marched down by Disney, which is a little bit a little down the street for me a bit, but it's close. And I would have joined that. I just sprung up. I was 20 miles away, but is that good? Writing letters. I think it's true. I saw that going around. There's addresses going around today. Write handwritten letters. Though these companies do very clearly track social media, there are high-level moderation jobs. It's not just social teams. There's actual moderation. These things are talked about. There are emails, Slack messages, without a doubt. But I don't think Uncle Bob's going to see a bunch of notifications on Blue Sky and think, well, we've done it now. I do think the canceling of subscriptions, I think that's a place to get it. Like I said, I currently in this moment haven't canceled mine. That's related to my podcast. But that would be a small sacrifice for the greater cause. So maybe by the end of the night, I do. I don't know. I also was completely out of my house today for most of the day. So wanted to see how some of this unfolded. But that's where we're at. That's where they're at. J&B says they'll ban games before guns. Yes. Serenity Jane is right. Don't forget, they want to ban guns from transgender humans. We want them to not have the guns. There's clearly a group of leftist transgender rebel warriors, a cabal of them gathering to take over the world. And I've seen people seriously express that. But I've also seen a lot of people afraid. I've also seen a lot of people concerned. I've also seen a lot of people in my life asking, all right, what's the best way to go forward? So maybe we find that somehow together. There were some very generous super chats coming in. I'm going to transition into talking about Cash Patel. I want to appreciate you all today. Serenity Jane, that's beautiful. I appreciate that. James Holmes as well, Mr. McClunky. James Holmes says, appreciate your ice routine. Thank you. I spent all day yesterday editing stand-up clips, and then the Kimmel thing broke, and I was like, man, do I put some of these on? I do think independent, whatever that might be, is still a way to go, including here right now, YouTube. But YouTube and Google, they have corporate owners. I'm wondering, and I'm waiting for when they'll come from this. It just would be even more complicated because a lot of these grifters, a lot of these alt-righters and the like have built quite an empire here through YouTube. And YouTube's made quite a lot of money on their backs. So even if this current administration comes after YouTube and Google, will it go the same? I don't know. But I already have to say unalive, have to be careful saying the name Hitler. I have to be careful about what we're all, that's already in place. History channels just simply talking about history without any true or clear perspective, just recounting history, are often dinged and demonetized off of YouTube. But I do believe we still have, even if maybe we'll send out telegrams. The resistance may not be televised, but it might be sent through the mail until the mail goes away. One of the big things I want to talk about tonight was watching Cash Patel get grilled again yesterday. Being made to look quite the fool. He represents to me one of the more troubling aspects of this second Trump administration versus the first. And the first wasn't great. I want to be clear. But there seem to be at least some girders of normalcy, which I want to be clear with how I say that and how that's taken. It was bad. But even then, you look back, you're like, oh, I miss John Kelly. You know? I miss Rex Tillerson. Like, that's how absolutely bonkers, I think, got after he lost that election, which he did lose the election, and into January 6th and beyond. It's just become this government of trolls. And you know it, I know it. I wish the American people knew it to complete the Bob Dole, Norm Macdonald joke, but watching Kash Patel sit there and just not know things, playing dumb. I didn't even care about covering up the files and all this stuff. I mean, I do, but like it's just watching him look consistently like a deer in the headlights, sitting in one of the most important positions in our country, for better or worse it is, and just watching him continue to be this ineffectual. Look at the investigation. Look at everything going on in the Charlie Kirk situation. Tweeting, we got him, and I know the governor, Spencer Cox, said that as well, but we got him, he's in custody, while Kash Patel was having dinner at a fancy restaurant because you can't lose that reservation. Oh, no, sorry, we didn't get it. He's just a shit poster. He's a podcaster. You want me running the FBI? Our Secretary of Defense, War. Not much better. I guess at least he served in the military. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. I know Dan had a career in adjacent areas, not in the FBI, right? But to sit there and watch our government of trolls stumble and bumble their way through it and continue to win at every step, not talking about elections, but decisions, policies, procedures, to watch ICE go, shit, we need to get some quotas. Let's go to this Hyundai factory and pick up, 317 South Koreans here legally, work visas, train American workers. Yeah, let's just grab that. Let's see. I don't know. We'll figure that out. We'll just do it. Put on your mask, boys. Let's go. To see all this happen, it's not even that it gets worse every day. It actually does get more unbelievable for me every day. And to watch someone like Kash Patel sit there in front of Congress and just be ripped apart, but probably still high-fiving people on the way out and watching people in your life go, yep, this conspiracy theorist podcaster doing a great job. It's just where we're at. And I have nothing more to say on that. David Mackay wants me to take that pipeline. Podcaster to FBI pipeline already established. Let's do it. Anyways, thanks for being here tonight. I'm not here for much more tonight. I don't know if I'm going to be here Saturday. I might take Saturday off. I might have to be packing some things in the house and just kind of contemplating some parts of life, and that might mean it's not a great time for me to be on air. And I appreciate you all, but we'll be back in force Monday, next Thursday, and Saturday. So we'll see. Stay tuned for that. I appreciate all of you hanging out with me. Let's just do it now, then we'll transition. I don't want to I'm going to do NFL picks, and I'm going to do GOT talk with Jared here, a quicker segment, but we're going to do it. But I also don't want to put this on Jared. It's, producer Steve's not here tonight. This is the point where I bring in producer Steve to talk about something silly and fluffy coming out of something heavy. But also, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you all for hanging with me. Thank you all for supporting me. And I don't mean that from a point of self-loathing. Little Ken can never get the audience he wants. Yeah. About a year ago, I was in a very bad place and had a breakdown on this very show. It helped kind of launch this version of the Blathering, though. We're building something. We're growing. And it's this community of all of you. I sneak in sometimes with Blathering backstage, and I watch what you all do. I love those that hang out with me here live. I absolutely 100% appreciate the super chats and the PayPal donations that some of you make as I try to hack my way through this town, through this city, through this industry. It means a lot. But I'm really proud of what we're doing here, and I'm really thankful for all of you coming on here and letting me talk about anything, including the silly stuff. I really think it's important for all of us. I've been hearing that a lot of like, what do we do, and how can I go on, and how can I look out at the news? How can I look out at Palestine, Gaza, Israel moving into Gaza, the West Bank? How can I look at those headlines, in other parts of the world too, Sudan and other spots? How can I look at that and just enjoy things? We have to. And we have to be there for those serious conversations, but we also need to be there for the silly conversations. I really believe that. I really believe that's where I'm at these days. So silly stuff will always be here on this channel. Pointless stuff will always be here on this channel, but you all make that possible. I am very glad that I, even on Force Center, that we can take that show where we need to go, where we feel the conversation needs to go. And the listeners of Force Center, many here today, will follow us. Will follow us on that. I'm very grateful that I am no longer on shows in which being, quote, political was forbid and not accepted. Not that I have a problem with the shows. Just today we're going to talk about Batman. Today we're going to talk about Matt Reeves. Today we're going to talk about this. We're going to react to this. I think those shows should exist based on just what I said. But I'm thankful that I'm not trapped in that structure where I can't look you in the camera here and say, this is what's going on. And I want to know, how do we go forward? I think it's important. I'm not propping myself up. I'm not propping myself up. That's only allowed because of all of you allowing me to go on this journey. I really appreciate you all. Spinal Tap. I do want to talk about a silly little movie. My friend Darina, a lot of you know DJ Bruja. If you don't follow her stuff, she's also got a new brand with her pal, Horror Hose. Check out her stuff. We love Darina here. Always been one of my favorites. Always been a believer in me, and I'm a believer in Darina. She blessed me with the opportunity about a week ago to see Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, at the Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles, and I mentioned it a little bit. And I got to sit close to, some of my favorite comedic legends. And Rob Reiner, great director, got to stare into the eye. Michael McKean and I made eye contact. He didn't know me. He wasn't like, oh, Casterly talk? No. Wasn't that. But I got to stand next to Harry Shearer. I got to see them about 2 feet away, Harry Shearer and Christopher Guest and Michael McKean. So people ask, did the movie go to 11? Did the movie go to the 12? No, the movie didn't. It maybe went to about an 8. I really love that movie. And it had some energy drag in it. Not every bit hit. I thought it needed a little more to the story. And it left some story on the table, if I want to be critical about it. It's hard. Spinal Tap is not just one of the great movies of our time in terms of comedy stuff. Spinal Tap is a movie that has a lot of meaning. I think it also did something, shined a light on the rock music industry. There's still rock bands that are like, no, that's the best rock doc in the world, or yeah, that absolutely captured our experience. So it's a fun window into the artistic world, made in the 80s by some creatives at the peak of their power and the peak of their skills, but they've all gone on to do wonderful things. The thing I wanted to highlight here is it's a funny movie. By the way, there are some lines in Spinal Tap 2 and some moments that are on par with anything in the first movie, anything they have done as a team, whether it's Waiting for Guffman, Mighty Wind, Best in Show. I mean, there are a couple moments here that are absolutely hilarious and funny and laugh out loud, and the crowd ate them up. So the movie has laughs. The movie absolutely has laughs. The movie was done with great care. The movie was done with great respect for the first one. It didn't try to recreate the first one. It tried to play along with it, and I really think it succeeded. But my favorite thing I want to talk about here before we get to some NFL picks and some GOT and get on out of here tonight, I loved watching older folks create. and not just the principal cast. There was also some veteran performers in the film. And as I get older, I turn 50 next year, which is still a young buck. Harry Shearer's 81, McKean and Guest 77, Reiner is in his 70s. When we all kind of grew up in a different time, not even too long ago, there is ageism. I have faced ageism, but of all the isms to face, my life's pretty easy. But I faced it. I'm sure when I apply for some jobs now, as I try to get back into some of the industry around me, the age, the gray in my beard, the experience is not going to beat out young, hungry, and cheaper. And also, being a sports fan, you're put out to pasture at 32. You're put out to pasture at 36. Only for, into the late 90s and 2000s did ball players start playing into their late 30s and early 40s and be effective. And there's maybe reasons around that, right? But also we have better health, better regime. We understand the mechanics. It's not just PEDs that might keep a player going. I just think we understand things better. Athletes can take care of themselves. But at the end of the day, 30, you're wrapped up. Old rock band. Oh, you're a 45-year-old rock band. Sad. There was a long time that was the mindset. You know. I wasn't in this meeting, so it's secondhand information. But people I know who were at the end of Collider Video were told in a meeting they were too old. They were laughed at. It was time to go, time to change. And maybe that's the right business decision. I don't know. I have no problem with the younger generation coming in. I stayed on for Jedi Council. I stayed on with a handshake deal that I was going to host and then slowly transition that show to Andres Cabrera and Emma Fife. That was kind of the deal. And it was met with, I want full credit, it was met by Mark Fernandez with great idea. I want to be clear with that. Everything changed on the big picture, and Jedi Council, along with so many other shows, ended. But that was my goal. So I don't mind the new generations. I don't mind the younger kids coming in. But I also, as I'm phased out at so many things, it's kind of hard. And so I was really moved. I was moved when I thought about it later. Doreen and I talked about it getting home, on the way home. To watch 77-year-olds and an 81-year-old get to be creative and get to be artistic and get to be funny and get to be themselves and get to play these characters and not just for a cheap cash grab, it was inspiring. And for my audience, which skews older, or at least my age group, I mean, let's not count Laserbolt. He messes up my age demographic in the most wonderful way. We're not done yet, kids. We're not done yet. So if anything, check the movie out for that. Thanks to Brennan Casey for becoming a channel member. Malcolm has a question. Thank you, Malcolm. By the way, you do this all the time, and I just love it, man. You come in with a generous super chat, and you have a question. I really appreciate it. Hey, Ken, hope you continue speaking your mind. When you were in your film school screenwriting days, who were your inspirations as a writer? Were there any movies that you kind of wanted to emulate? Great question, Malcolm. I was a big Paul Thomas Anderson fan, but that came a little bit later. My screenwriting film studying days were like 1994, 95. Tarantino was huge. Kevin Smith was huge. Ed Burns, Brothers McMullen was huge in my life. I really liked Ed Burns. I was a big fan of Ben Stiller and ends up kind of being like I was a fan of David O. Russell movies, not so much now, but love Flirting with Disaster, one of my favorite movies. I love that. Then I became, by the time I'll extend the question to when I moved to LA to be a screenwriter. So I studied screenwriting and film production. I wanted to be a director and writer in 94, 95. And then it was my what I now know is probably an ADD brain couldn't focus on what it took to really be a director. So I got my job in radio, and I kind of wrapped up college, and here we go. My career's sorted. So I moved to LA to do comedy at the Groundlings, to study comedy at the Groundlings, to write screenplays, to be a screenwriter. And I think the biggest one at the time, Paul Thomas Anderson, and then Wes Anderson. Rushmore changed my life for a while. Also like movies like Grosse Pointe Blank and High Fidelity, Coen Brothers, that era. Nora Ephron, a big fan of When Harry Met Sally. So it was that. Early on, too, growing up, I wanted to be the next George Lucas, because who didn't, right? So I appreciate that, Malcolm. We'll dive into that one more, maybe, one day. All right. let's do this here right now. I've been talking, so I need another another voice to come in while I sip some water. Jared, the Tie Pilot, is here. We're going to talk some GOT in a second, but how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Ken. I'm doing all right. Can't complain. Nobody listens.
Right. I mean, here you can. This is a complain zone. Complaining can be funny too. I've turned a whole career of complaining into funny.
Oh, trust me. They all laugh at me on backstage when I talk about my psychotic fucking hatred of the lottery.
Of just the lottery in general?
Yep. Scratch tickets, Powerballs, all of it. You can all burn in the deepest, darkest layers of hell for eternity.
The Dolphins have kicked off, so I don't have a ton of time tonight, but I want to hear a little bit of this because I get a Mega Millions every once in a while, but I agree with you. In fact, it's like the real life Squid Game to me. So what do you hate about it?
Just as a man who's worked in retail for over 20 years, for one thing, it's a goddamn scam. You are never going to come out on top because even if you do, oh God, the lottery ruins your life.
Right.
Whether you win or lose, either way. Why donate to the state and then complain about taxes?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And also get out of my line. Like, I don't need you holding up my goddamn checkout line.
I agree with you on that. You know why? Because
what number is this one on?
Yes. Yes, I agree with that because when I only get the tickets when I'm in line at 7-Eleven and I'm buying something, I'll just say, Jimmy, give me a Mega Millions today. But there's the people that wait, and I see they got the wad of cash in their hands, and they're just kind of antsy. They're waiting. They get up there, and it's not just buying the tickets. They have a ton of questions, Jared. This is a shared experience, so I'm behind you on this.
Right? It's just, I've got a regular at my liquor store who will frequently buy unopened books of $50 tickets.
Right?
Like you spent like almost $1,000.
Yeah.
And what hurts it the most is every one of them, those regulars, they all got some ridiculous story about the one time they hit like 10 grand or something like that. Yeah. But they don't know how much they spent since then or to get there. And obviously that 10 grand did not change your life because you're still playing the lottery.
Yeah. Right. All right.
Alrighty.
See, you complained and it was met with love, care, and concern.
All right, let us go on to Casterly Blathers.
Let's do the Casterly Blathers. As always, Jared left to call in with some questions, some thoughts about Game of Thrones. We're doing a rewatch, season 6, episode 8. We're almost to season 7, on to 8. And I will confess, I didn't get a chance to fully refresh myself in this episode, but I'm definitely on board for what it's about. So, Jared, what do we got this week?
Yeah, today we got the episode No One. Again, directed by Mark Millar and written by D&D themselves. And what I like about this episode is, and what it got a lot of credit for too, was wrapping up some longer plots. We wrap up Arya and Bravos with this one. The Riverlands get tied up. It's just, Danny's back in Marine. So it's a lot of, all right. What's going to be the next round of bullshit that I got to put up with and break my heart with?
Yeah, I do love that about this episode. We always talk, especially back in the day when Game of Thrones was being broadcast and we were on podcast talking about it. It was this. Oh, this was a table setting episode. Episode 1 was always that, and then about episode 4 or 5, our analysis on like watching Thrones or Throne Chat or whatever the hell we did back in the day. We're like, this episode resets the board, but this one I think clears the board and resets at the same time. It's building up for the end of this season, which is a spectacular end. But yeah, there is a little bit of a gearing up for the final quarter of the show that seems to be apparent in this episode.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they also were finally giving us the big Battle of the Bastards on the next episode. So figured let's like you said, clear that board and get ready for our last 2 seasons. The end's coming up quick, folks. We started this rewatch at the Red Viper in the mountain, so it's getting there. But one of the plots that I liked cleaning up the most was the Arya one. I really enjoyed her Batman training. Don't get me wrong, it was good stuff. But just Lady Crane helping her out, and then the way she takes out the waif, just beautiful stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Looking back, in the middle of it, there was a lot of, I don't know, a little angst about Arya's plot line over there. I always loved a lot of it. I loved that Jagan Hagar was there, or at least the man named Jagan Hagar was there. In the end, I liked the waif. I always say, and we talked about it here, that, Faye Marseille's performance in Andor made me appreciate the waif maybe in a way that I didn't as much back then. But I did like the character. I love this final fight. I love the reveal. I hated seeing Lady Crane go. I actually really liked that cat. Heartbroken. It's Game of Thrones, so you're used to the deaths, but I guess she had to go. But yeah, the ending of it, it's wonderfully vague. And I remember spending a lot of time, and this is the rewatch, so now I feel like going back of a lot of time analyzing Jagan Hagar's face. And when she says at the end, it rejects the no one, and is Arya Stark, and she had already gotten Needle. We already kind of knew all that stuff, but to officially do it, officially kind of end it, and to have him smile, I'm sure when it plays out obviously a lot differently in the books. And there's a lot of wonderful. I love her storyline of the books, and Jared, I don't know about you, but maybe that's why I liked it a little bit more on the show than other folks. Is it did scratch enough of the itches for me on the story that was told in the books about her there. I don't know about you.
No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, her story in the book, I feel, allows for more of the broad stroke brushes to translate to a screen images, as opposed to some of the other more nuanced. Like, you couldn't really get the true Tyrion Lannister on screen. That
right.
If you did book Tyrion, that'd be a different show. My lord. But no, I agree though. She definitely gets a nice translation as far as I'm concerned, because like I said, I was one of those people. Like, I was having a ball watching her freaking Batman training and just getting the shit kicked out of herself for the waif and whatnot. But I agree, the acting from our Jock and Hagar guy, that smile, to me, I don't know about you, but I read that as he knew from the start when she started this training. I don't know. She's going to be Arya the whole time. It's a question of, can she figure it out herself?
Years later now, land on that point where I think the entire time, and some of the stuff he's saying to the waif is maybe, including it's a shame and whatever, I'm paraphrasing the line, like, was about her. Like, you're obsessed. You've lost the idea of no one, waif. But that this was, I don't want to say part of a training that back in season 2, he knew he was going to give her. Like, hey, take this coin and maybe you'll find me and I'll make you into the Arya Stark you need to be. I don't know if that was completely on his mind in that moment in season 2, but I think in the end it's on his mind now. At least that's how I choose to interpret it, and that's how I feel, because I love this character so much, both of them, but I love Arya. I love what we get with season 7 of I Can't Go Home Again kind of vibes. She knows who she is, and this was what needed to happen. And that's why I think in the end I'm very happy, and I love that moment. I love the vagueness.
Definitely. So we'll get out on it here. Get the moving next week. We got the big one, Battle of the Bastards. Ooh,
Battle of the Bastards. It's going to be fun to get there. Yeah, I love in closing on episode 8, a lot of great themes of we always know who you are, who you're going to fight for, but a lot of people really in an episode titled No One, it's a lot of people who know who they are. The Hound, Blackfish, Danny returning to Marine, Arya becoming Arya again. No One, it's about someone and individuals here, and that sets us up for the big finish there. Jared, I really appreciate you talking about it with me. Okay, buddy?
Always, man. You guys stay safe. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you then. Jared, a lot of you are giving me dolphin updates. I didn't want to be spoiled. I'm watching it after the show. But yoo-hoo. Okay. Thank you all. You all from the bottom of your heart. I'm getting updates on the Dolphin game, but we'll do that. So let's quickly go into some NFL picks. This is a segment that we actually started on Monday's show with producer Steve, and that, of course, was me making the prediction about my Miami Dolphins every year. But I took the Dolphins to lose but cover. The Bills favored 12.5 points. So even though at the time of this recording, I'm getting an update live on the game because it's the kickoff began while I was on the air here, I'm still sticking with it. The Dolphins lose, but I think they cover. So we'll see how that goes. Other games going through quickly here tonight. Raiders at Washington. Washington favored, but it's by 3 there, -3 there on the old board. My big worry is Jaden Daniels, questionable day to day, not just for this game and my betting, but for my fantasy team. I do think the Raiders under Pete Carroll have a better opportunity. I think I hate to do this. Mark Ellis will hate me. I predict an upset. I actually think the Raiders are going to win. I actually am going to take the Raiders on the road in Washington. Jaden Daniels, even if he plays, he might not be at full strength. I'm going to go with that. Next one here, Steve's Eagles. Producer Steve hosting, his team hosting Los Angeles there. The Chargers. Rams. Sorry. They got to fix that logo, man. That looks like a Charger. It doesn't look like a Ram bolt, a Ram horn. This is easy. I don't think LA's going to cover it all. I'm taking Eagles straight away. And everyone who owns their fantasy players are going to enjoy the weekend they have it. All right, there's the Chargers. We got Denver going to, I was going to say San Diego again. I'm so stuck on the Chargers still being in San Diego. I apologize to the city of San Diego for bringing up pain. Denver coming off a loss, 1 point to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is better than people think. Trust me, as a Dolphin fan, ouch, babe, they hurt. But this is SoFi Stadium. I think you got Harbaugh coaching a good season. I'm sticking with the Chargers, and I do not think the Broncos will cover there. Final pick. I was going to try to. Josh McCouga is going to pinch hit for these NFL pick segments. We're going to work that out. Tonight was a little bit too early. So we got Steelers going to New England. New England is they're not favored at home here. Plus 1.5, 1.5 on the board here. I'm going to take. I think there's a little bit of problem in Pittsburgh, and I hate to do this to Josh too. I hate to do Mark Ellis and Josh McCouga, my two best buds in the world. I'm picking against them. I actually think the Patriots are going to win at home. Not win big, and going to be a little bit of shootout, but I think they're going to do that there. So speeding through the picks this week because I actually got to go watch my football team. That is what's on my docket here tonight. So we'll do that. I do want to take a quick call here. I don't want to leave him hanging. Kingsport Cal, how you doing, buddy? In a minute or less, what's on your mind?
Ken, I have a moral consumer dilemma.
Moral consumer dilemma. Hit me, baby.
Yes, okay. That's a store I've been going to that's open this past year. Open, I think it was at the beginning of the year. Anyway, I've been supporting this store very hard. Okay. It's also the store that started getting that Broster's chicken I was talking about.
Okay, yeah, the chicken. Yep.
Yes. Okay. So I go in the mornings when I get off work and I get my country ham biscuit. Okay. Anyway, so now this was almost 2 weeks ago. I went in there. I forgot to mention this. I can't believe I forgot to mention this. I went in there on in the morning at like 7:05 in the morning, and I changed it up. I got my country ham biscuit, but I got my country biscuit. Country ham, and I got provolone and bacon. Okay. So okay, no big deal. When I got home. And I heated it up in the microwave for about 30 seconds, no big deal. And I ate into it. This dude, he put the country ham, okay, you got your biscuit bottom, country ham, bacon, then provolone, then biscuit top. And I ate it, okay? It was fine.
Okay.
So then, but that's not how I do it. You know, the cheese has got to go in the middle. The cheese has to go in the middle.
Sure, I like that.
So, like a few days after that, I went in a few days in the morning. I went in, I got my country ham biscuit, and I went in and I was like, look, dude, I was like, last time you did it, you didn't do it right. I was like, I want country ham, the provolone cheese, and then the bacon on top. And he's like, everybody's a scientist. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, everybody's a scientist. And I was like, look, dude, I was like, that's just the way, that's the way I like it. That's the way I want it. He's like, I don't understand what you mean. And I was like, look, I was like, yeah, I want the ham, the cheese, and then the bacon on top. He's like, well, where does the biscuit go? I was like, what do you think? I was like, the biscuit, all that goes in between. So wait a minute, go ahead. What?
Have you been banned from? Is that the moral problem? Have you been banned from this place?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
So
Okay.
then he said, "Well, I don't understand it." Da da da. I said, "You don't have to understand it. Just make it. I'm the one buying it. It's because you don't. Just because you don't understand my logic, I'm
Okay.
paying you to make it the way that I want it,
Wow,
right?"
this jumped
And
off
so,
fast. Okay.
yes, it did. And this guy, we've been cool for,
Okay.
like I
Okay.
said, for ever
Okay.
since. And then he what?
If you were a stand-up comic, you've run your light. So
Sorry.
go
But
to the
here's
crux. Go to the crux of
here's
it.
the thing.
The Dolphins are playing, and J&B is going to give me a play-by-play unless you stop.
All right. Well, here's the thing. He said he wasn't going to make the sandwich. He said, "Well, not today. Not today. I can't
Okay.
make it today." Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so I told him very politely that I will go. I was like, I guess I have to get my morning biscuits elsewhere. And he was
Okay.
like, "You'll figure it out." So here's the thing. I
I
haven't
like
been
this.
to buy I haven't been to buy any
Mm-hmm.
in that store in 2 weeks. He caters to me. He gets my personal cigarettes that I smoke that nobody else in this area smokes. He gets my beer, Pat's Blue Ribbon Light, that
Love it.
nobody else in here
Okay.
drinks,
Okay.
which I found out I could get that at Food City for cheaper.
Okay.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so I've boycotted that store until I feel like going back in there to let him know, let him feel that. Now, am I wrong for that? Because he didn't want to make a sandwich because I was kind of demanding, which is not even demanding. It's just saying my personal preference on the biscuit that I pay for. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Is that a
Mm-hmm.
problem? Is that wrong?
I think it comes down to the way in which you approach it. I don't know if you felt you started the conversation in a nice way and then he elevated it. Then maybe, yeah, it is on him. I think what's going to end up needing to happen, Cal, is you're going to have to go in there, a little tail between your leg if it's really this about the smokes here, and just come to an agreement that this is the way you like the sandwich. And if it's a problem, then maybe I get the sandwich elsewhere, but I will continue to purchase smokes from you. I think you guys can come together. I think this could be an element of, once one person got heated, the next person got heated, and it escalated. I think there's an escalation, Cal, that didn't need to happen. But I do agree with you. If you like your sandwich a certain way and they're making it to type, then you should try to make it the way you want it.
That's my only thing is I want the biscuit. Just because he doesn't understand why I want it that way doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I don't want it that way. I'm paying
Yeah.
him money for it, so he should make it the way I want. It's not gonna take
Look.
anything away from him at all. And
Look,
here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
But see, remember, Cal, remember when you severely affected my relationship by keeping me from going to dinner? You affected my relationship.
Oh my God.
You're affecting my relationship with the Dolphins. Final thing for me here is you're talking to someone who doesn't return food. You're talking to someone that just rolls with the punches. So I'm probably a little too soft, but maybe you were a little too harsh. And I think the true loving Cal can come together and form an agreement with this country biscuit ham guy. And I think you're going to have a good future together. I think that's the pattern. I think if you try that and update us, you'll find that we've bridged some gaps here.
I hope so. But here's the thing. I'm going for a full-blown month before I've been about 2 weeks already. I'm going for a full-blown month before I go in there because I want to see, because he gets stuff specifically for me. Nobody else is going to buy it.
Okay.
He's going to lose money.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And he's going to know why. Because he's going to remember that morning when he's told me he would not make me a biscuit. He's going to remember that. Because I spent a lot of money in that place.
Tell you what, I endorse the 30-day boycott. I agree with that.
Then I'll go back and I'll go in. I won't even mention it. I'll go in. I'll buy my Pat's Blue Ribbon Light and see if it even gets brought up. He might. I'm sure he's going to ask me where the hell I've been, and I will.
That's a fair question.
If he does that, I will tell him. I will tell him why.
Have a conversation. Don't get angry. Don't point fingers.
I'm getting angry already.
See?
All right, Ken.
You're escalating. Cal, I love you, my friend. Thanks for calling into the show tonight.
I'll see you. Go Dolphins.
That's the case. All right. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out tonight. I know we got serious. I think we needed to. I know we got silly, and I know we needed to. Definitely be back Monday, maybe Saturday. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Hang out with us. Give us a like. Hype the video. Thanks for the super chats. I really appreciate it. If you're watching later, you want to give a super thanks to help the channel, you know I'll appreciate that too. But it isn't just about the money. It's about the community. See you next time. Bye.